Hi everybody and welcome. My name's Stuart Haden, founder of Storm Beach, specialising in authentic leadership, keeping myself busy as a coach, consultant, facilitator, speaker and author of the book here I have in my hand, It's Not About the Coach, which is the focus of today's video. And I'm going to talk a bit more about curiosity, which comes in at chapter 4 of the book, and it's the first chapter that sits within the perception section, which is about coaches assessing really what they know, their perception, what's accurate, how do they know what they know and what isn't accurate. So I'm going to do a short reading and then we'll break down curiosity in a bit more detail and why it's important to be curious as a coachee, as a mentee, as a learner, as a player. Call it what you want. The trek was awesome. The sanctuary itself was not penetrated until 1956, held sacred to the Gurung people, as it only inhabited people before the 20th century. I was on the Annapurna Sanctuary Trail in Nepal. The mix of ecosystems was wonderful, rhododendron and bamboo forest culminating in drier, colder climate typical of the Tibetan plateau. Following the Modi Kola River, we passed through the narrow pass between the peaks of Hinchuli and Machu Picchu, which is known as the fishtail, and entered into the high glacial basin at an altitude of over 4,000 meters. We arrived late that evening, so the following morning was our photo opportunity, surrounded by the Annapurna range. Never before had I reflected like I did that day, to a point where I find it hard to describe what actually happened that morning. A life-changing moment, spiritual, perhaps. Although I hesitate to describe them in such a way, but remember, it was just a point of time in the journey. That moment cannot be separated from what happened minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, and even years before. I never expected more than a quick hike from base camp, photos, and a hike back down the valley. Yet we sat in relative silence for over 2 hours. A few cigarettes shared, knowing looks, and nothing else but reflection. The glaciers were in constant movement and constant song, creaking and groaning all around us. Mini avalanches couldn't even break the stillness. I sat, I contemplated and reflected on what was. Nothing special, nothing specific, just reflection, still and deep. So that's a story where I was hiking with university friends about 15-20 years ago in the Annapurna range in Nepal, which is one of, can't say the, but one of my favourite countries in the world. And the reason I mention it is because people talk about the mountains, or here I am at the coastline, or in nature, or practicing yoga or sport being quite spiritual and reflective, in places where you can be really curious, which is definitely true. But remember, you take that curiosity there. You don't find the curiosity in the mountains like I did. It's not, you don't find it as such. Kind of you do in the way you describe it, but you take it there. You have to bring that curiosity to that. But the same as in coaching, you have to bring curiosity to the coaching. Curiosity about yourself, about others, about your goals, about why you're being coached, what your aims are, where you're at in the phase of learning, all that good stuff. It's highly reflective. You really have to kind of close the door, which coaching is all about, closing that door, finding some space, some stillness, deepness, connection, meaning, authenticity, all that stuff, to really reflect and be curious. So it's a really key skill as coaching to be curious. Really hold on to that and let that drive you. And if you can, demonstrate curiosity, remember initially probably about yourself, which is all good, but then about others as well. If you don't operate in a vacuum, then it'll stand you in good stead for your coaching journey.